They're now asking for anyone who recalls seeing suspicious activity vehicles along this area in the last month or around the time she disappeared. This is the next stage now. They're looking at this scene. They're trying to find other clues. Describe what happens now. What more can they gain from this area?
This is a crime scene.
Yeah.
This is now an official crime scene, and that tape should be around it for quite a while, because you cannot discover all of the secrets, all of the mysteries that may lie within that scene in a matter of hours. So we will hope that they will continue to comb that scene. Hannah, the body of the human remains, who is believed to be possibly Hannah Graham, has been taken to the medical examiner's office in Richmond. That will be an autopsy, and if the remains are intact, it will be a normal forensic autopsy. If they are skeletal remains, they may have to bring in forensic anthropologists, which is what they do. And so we need to see if that happens. Once the autopsy is concluded, then cause of death and manner of death are two critical components that hopefully they will be able to find.
Well, you mentioned a detail just while we were in break. That she was very tall. She was 5'11". So even before you have a DNA identification, you would have an indication just based on the height of the body as to whether this was her.
Not only the height.
One indication.
None of her clothes have been found.
Right.
Her phone has not been found. Anything she had. And we all know what she was wearing, because we saw that surveillance tape of her, and we've heard over and over again in the press conferences, look for this top, look for these black pants. So if any clothes were there, that would be a clear indication also.
Tom Fuentes, former FBI assistant director, an odd moment today, because you have them making an announcement tied to this case. You have them describing a call to her parents after these remains are found, even without positive ID. What does that tell you about what else they found at the scene that would indicate that they had found the body that they were looking for?
Well, it indicates to me, Jim, that we don't know what they found in addition to finding the remains, but it must have been enough to give them a pretty good idea that it was probably her. But the difficulty now, this is going to be a very difficult forensic investigation, because there was no doubt that she was with Jesse Matthew. So the fact at the scene, if they find hairs, fibers, DNA from him around her or on her clothing, you would expect that. We already know they were together. The next hard thing is, how did she die? What's the cause of it? Was a weapon involved, and can they find it? And can they link the cause of her death directly to him?
These are big questions, Danny Cevallos. You've prosecuted cases like this, defended cases like this. You have a lot of indicators here. You have a suspect who's already been charged with abduction. He was seen on video with her. You had other witnesses describe seeing her with him the night that she disappeared. You have a history with him, a DNA tie to a previous missing girl in the same area, as well as accusations of sexual assault going back 10 years. When you look at those pieces, and granted, these are very early pieces, but when you look at those pieces, how strong a case do you see building here against the suspect, Jesse Matthew?
Well, I've actually defended a no-body murder prosecution, and interestingly enough, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, sometimes the prosecution can benefit from not having a body, although they certainly would prefer to have one, because they can raise a lot of questions that nobody, including the defense, can answer when there is no body. Consider, for example, if this body shows any fiber or DNA evidence of anybody else, right? Like we just discussed, there will be some evidence that this suspect was around her, which we already know. But what if this body contains fiber from some other place, from some other person, and you can definitively point to another human being as potentially being around her? In a way, the defense actually it can potentially get easier if there are confounding factors, if there's new evidence that points in a different direction. Now, on the other hand, if you find body-type evidence like semen on a victim, then that will not bode well for a suspect like this.